All right. Last one, summer, 8th grade, chapter 10, volume and similar solids. So we've got some volume problems. Volume, this is two bases. I'll trace the bases. Base shape is a circle, that's the base, and this is its parallel base. So this has two bases. All volume of two base figures has the formula volume equals big B times H, where B stands for the base area and H represents the height of the object. Very important, height of the object. So we have the base area is dependent on the shape, which is a circle. And so this area of a circle is, so we have this equation. We're going to fill in the area of a circle, which is pi r squared, and then we're going to multiply it by the height. So pi is 3.14. The radius is 20 squared times the height, which is 30. And we can put units or we cannot put the units. If you understand that all volumes are going to be cubic, since they're millimeters, we know that we're going to end up with cubic millimeters. So we don't necessarily have to. 314, 20 times 20 is 400 times 330. The two zeros move the decimal point, so that's really 4 times 314. Or it's kind of like 12 times 3,140. So that would be all the three zeros, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 times 3 is 12. So if we wanted to do it that manner, just to keep it a little bit, I don't know, times 3140, 37,680. 37,680 millimeters cubed. Millimeters cubed. Let's check that answer. 37,000. Well, they've got a little bit different because their pi value, I don't know what they're using for pi. They got 3699.1. And whether they go out further and then round at the end, could be, since they don't tell us a specific whether they want it in pi or whether they want it in decimals. That's up to them. Or 22/7. This is an acceptable answer. Find the volume of the solid. This base shape is also a circle. Unfortunately, there's only one. Well, not unfortunately. So the volume of a single base object is 1/3 big B times H. Doesn't matter if it's circular or polygonal. If there's only one base, it's 1/3 big B times H. Doesn't matter if it's circular or polygonal. If there are two bases, it's always going to be volume equals big B times H. And then you fill in your base shape. So we have this 1/3 big B times H. My base shape is a circle again. So we're going to fill in pi r squared times the height. Volume equals 1/3. Pi, we're going to use 3.14. Radius, this is the diameter. So very important. This is diameter. So the radius is going to be 1.5 squared times the height, which is 6. Everything is in centimeters. So, of course, my volume is going to be centimeters cubed. 1.5 squared, 2.25? 2.25? 2.25. So volume equals 1/3 times the quantity, 3.14 times 2.25 times 6. Now, instead of multiplying this out, this denominator, this numerator makes it a whole lot easier. So I can double that. That gives me volume equals 3.14. Let's double this, which gives us 4.5. And then we can just use a calculator. 4.5 times 3.14, 14.13, 14.13, 14.13. It says round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to go to the tenths place. I'm going to look here. This tells me to round down. So my volume is going to equal 14.1 centimeters cubed. That's good. Did this round to the nearest tenth? Did I round to the nearest tenth? I did. It's a whole number. Okay, I'm cool with that. Volume of a solid, this is no bases. And so volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. Yep, that's the volume of a sphere, 4/3 pi r cubed. Right, surface area, volume. I'm pretty sure it's 4/3 pi r cubed. Let's take a peek. Volume of a sphere. Volume of it 4/3 pi r cubed. Surface area, I think, is 3 pi r squared. 4 pi r squared. I should have said 4. That was silly. Okay, so we're good here. So volume equals 4/3 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 13 cubed. 13 cubed is going to be a big number. 13 cubed equals 2197. 2197 times 3.14 times 4/3. So let's do 2197 times 3.14. 68, 98, 58. Ooh, that's an interesting one. 68, 98, 58. 68, 98, 58. And we're going to multiply that by 4/3. So we'll multiply it by 4, divide it by 3. 91, 98, we're rounding to the nearest tenth, so that's 0.1. 91, 98, 1. 9198.1 feet cubed equals the volume. Let's just make sure we're in the ballpark. Looking at the answer key. Well, they're not even in the ballpark. 9202. I'm doing it right, so I don't know how they're getting their crazy numbers. 3.14. That's what I'm getting. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay if you're okay with that, because that's what you're going to get. Find the volume of the solid. You have two objects that you have to find the volume. You have a cone. So volume of the cone plus volume of the cylinder. Let's got to have another letter. Cone and cylinder, both cone and cylinder will equal the total volume. So volume of the cone, one base figure, is going to be 1/3 big B times H, plus the cylinder is going to be big B times H equals the total volume. That's pi r squared times the height plus pi r squared times the height equals total volume. 1/3, 3.14 times the radius, which is 6 squared, plus 3.14. Oh, forgot the height. Sorry, times height. Times the height, which is the cone has a 10-meter height, plus 3.14 times 6 squared times this height of the cylinder is 12. So that is 1/3, 3.14 times 36 times 10 plus 3.14 times 36 times 12 equals total volume. Let's simplify the 3 and the 36, which makes 12. Let's do 12 times 10, 3.14 times 120 plus 3.14 times 36 times 12. That's a big number. 432, not as big as I thought. 432 equals total volume. And we can pull out the 3.14 and you get 120 plus 432 and 3.14 times 552, and we can multiply those. 552 times 3.14, 1733.28, 1733.28. What are we rounding to? To the nearest tenth. 1733.3 meters cubed equals the total volume. 17,342. A little bit off, but I like my answer. The pyramids are similar. Okay, that means they're going to be proportional. Their corresponding parts are going to be proportional. Find the missing measures. The length, so that's the slant height. We actually call that the slant height. Is going to be proportional. So what do we know? We know both of these. These correspond with each other. So 4 is to 6 as 5 is to the slant height. So we can do 4 times L equals 6 times 5. 4L equals 30. Divide by 4, divide by 4. L equals 7.5. Let's put that over there. All right, and then X. X is the interior distance. Now, that's interesting. What does it go to? That goes over to here? I don't understand what that, where is that? That doesn't go to the edge. That goes to some point. That's just a really strange. I think they misdrew that. I think this was supposed to go out to this edge. I think what they're saying is, so we can create a triangle. I think they're saying that that's a right triangle. So they want to know what the other leg is, and we know the hypotenuse. I don't know. That's kind of weird. We're going to try. I'm not 100% certain. Here's another great question where they sort of out-trick themselves. They're trying to ask too crazy of a question. I don't know. But that's 6. That's 7.5. Is that? Yeah. I mean, let's try it. Pythagorean theorem. So 6 squared plus x squared, because that's the leg, should equal 7.5 squared. So that's 36 plus x squared equals 7.5. 7.5 squared equals 5625. 5625 minus 36 gives us x squared equals 0.25, 20.25. So minus 36. Now take the square root. 4.5. That's what they have too. So take the square root. Take the square root. and we get x equals 4.5. And that was the answer that they got. So that's a bad drawing. This is a really poorly drawn diagram. We'll draw it over to here. This line goes to that edge, to the edge. Doesn't go to here. Where's this? Looks like it's on something. That's just so poorly drawn. And then find the surface area of the red pyramid. Okay, well, now proportion, right? They're similar, so they're proportional. And when we're dealing with length and width and one linear or single dimensions, it's going to be 1-to-1. So we can draw this, we can do a 1-to-1 ratio. But when we talk about surface area, it's actually this proportion, 4/6 or 2/3, is going to be squared. So it's actually 4/9. So we're going to multiply 96 times 4/9 in order to get our proportion. So 3 goes into both of those. 3 goes into that 3 times. 3 goes into this 32 times. So we have 32 times 4, which is 128 over 3. And 128 over 3 is going to give us 42.6 repeating. I forgot what my number. 128 divided by 3, 42.6 repeating centimeters squared. And that is not the answer. Oh. Whoops. I went the wrong way. It's not 4/6. Silly. What were we multiplying by? Sorry, it's 4-6. Sorry. Sorry. That didn't work very well. It is 4/9. 4/6 is 2/3. 4/9. It is 4/9. I just did this part wrong. It should be multiplied by 9/4. What if I multiply it by 9/4? What is it? 96 times 9/4. It can't be 4/9. This is making things smaller. This is less than 1. So let's do this. Let's try that. That's 2. That's going to be 48. This is 1. This is 24. 24 times 9 gives us 36. 18. 216. That's correct. 216 centimeters squared would be the surface area. That was silly. The proportion, I just did the proportion incorrectly. You were making smoothies. All right. I've got this cone and I've got this cylinder. You will use either the cone-shaped glass or the cylindrical glass. Okay, which glass holds more? Well, volume of the cone equals 1/3 big B times H. Volume of the cone equals 1/3 pi r squared H. Volume of the cone equals 1/3 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 2.5 squared, times the height, which is 5. Volume of the cone equals 1/3 3.14 2.5 6.25 6.25 6.25 times 5. Okay, so let's do some math. Times 5 equals 3125. 3125 times 3.14 times 1/3. So times 3.14, 98,125. 98,125 times 1/3 divided by 3 equals 32.7. 32.7. 32.7. $32.7, and the cylinder has the same, no, it has a volume. Let's do different color. Volume of the cylinder equals big B times H. Volume of the cylinder equals pi r squared times H. Volume of the cylinder equals 3.14 times 1.5 squared times the height is 5.5. And we'll just do it all out. So you got 1.5 squared equals times 5.5 equals times 3.14 equals 38,875. 38,875. 75. Okay, which has more? The cylindrical glass has more. And how much more? Well, 32.7 minus 32.7 gives us 61, and I think round to the nearest tenth, so 6.2. 6.2 cubic inches. Yeah, they say 6.1. I got 6.2. But I like my answer. I'm okay with my answer. The ratio of the corresponding linear measures of two similar. Notice they said linear. That means we're dealing with one dimensions. I like that we talked about that. Linear measures of two similar waffle cones is 3:4. The smaller cone has a volume of about 18 cubic inches. Find the volume of the larger. So since we're going larger, we're going to do 3/4. Okay. And times 18. So we're going to cancel that. It goes 2 and 9. And that gives us 27/2. And, sorry. Linear. Yeah, so we're doing volume. Sorry. Volume. Sorry, I thought we were doing linear. So I thought we were just going to do a linear. We're doing the single units, but we're not. We're doing actually volume. So that's 3. So that's 4/3 cubed. So that's 18. And I think that's 64. And that's 27. And now 3 goes into those. 3 goes into that 6 times. 3 goes into that 9 times. 3 goes into that 2 times. 3 goes in this 3 times. And we get 128/3, which we've done already. And that's going to give us 42.6 repeating. And find the volume, round to the nearest tenth. So that's 42.7 inches cubed is going to be the volume of the bigger cone. 42.7. Yes, we got it spot on this one. Which two composite solids have the same volume but different surface areas? Okay, that's a really fun, cool question. I like that. Has the solids have the same volume? All right, let's look and see who has same volume. Ooh, Okay. Do we have to do each one? Okay. That's a lot of work. Same volume. Let me use this for a second, just so I can get around a little bit easier. 8, 14, 10, 4, 6, and 6. Those don't. 8. So 8, 14, 10. All right. Well, we're just going to have to do each of the maths. Okay. So this is going to be 4 times 6 times 7 plus 8 times 14 times 10. And this is going to be 4 times 4 times 7 plus 8 times 12 times 10. And this is going to be 4 times 6 times 6 plus 8 times 14 times 10. This is going to be 4 times 7 times 4 plus 8 times 12 times 12. All right, let's do some maths. So let's get the calculator out. We're just going to use it on my computer, on my phone. So 4 times 6 times 7 gives us 168 plus 8 times 14 times 10 gives us 1120 plus 168 gives us 1288. So let's look at this one. This is going to be 16 times 7, 112. And that's 8 times 12 times 10. So that's 120 times 8, which gives us 960. Plus 112 gives us 1072. Okay, this is going to be 24 times 6, 144, plus 140 times 8, which gives you 1120, plus 144 gives us 1264. No together yet. It's going to be 16 times 7, which is 112, plus 144 times 8, 1152 plus 112 gives us 1264. Okay, so they have the same volume. So I'm assuming they have the same. This is the volume, so I would assume that they'd have different surface area. Surface area is going to be lateral. I mean, that's just a pain in the butt for doing those. Since there's no other ones, I would assume that it's just going to be those. But let's do the surface area. This is volume. This is volume. Let's do the surface area. No need to cut corners here. So we got our lateral area. So surface area equals lateral area plus, we're just going to do base area because it has a top. It doesn't have a bottom. So lateral area is perimeter times the height plus our base area is length times width. So our perimeter is going to be 20 times the height, which is 6, plus length times width, which is 4 times 6, which is 120 plus 24, which is 144. That's just for the top part of this surface area. Let's do the bottom part. Surface area is going to be the lateral area plus just the base area, just the bottom, which is perimeter times height plus length times width. Perimeter of this object is going to be, what's that, 22? 22, which is 44, times the height of the object, which is 10. So that's 440, plus 8 times 14, 8 times 14 gives us 112. And that gives us 552. And so the total would be 696. 696 for our volume, or for our surface area of that object. And let's do the surface area of this object, which is lateral area plus base area. Lateral area, let's do the top one, which is perimeter times the height plus length times width. Perimeter is going to be 11 doubled 22 times the height, which is 4, which gives us 88, plus length times width is 4 times 7, which is 28, which gives us 116. And of the lower box, which is lateral area plus base area, which is the perimeter times the height plus length times width. Perimeter is going to be 40. 40 times 12, which is the height. And that's going to give us 480 plus 8 times 12, which is 96, which gives us 16, 17, 576. Oh, 576 for the surface area. And then the total, let's do total, is going to give us 2, 7, 8, 9, 692. And so they have the same volume but different surface area. A lot of work for that question, but she had to be able to explain it. So there are 3.5 pi cubic inches of blue sand and 9 pi cubic inches of red sand in the cylindrical container. Okay, how many cubic inches of white sand are in the container? Round your answer. There are about, all right, so we have to solve. So let's do this in red. Volume equals base times height. Volume equals pi r squared times the height. Volume equals, no, I see what they did. Well, I'm solving for height. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, I think this is okay. So I know what the volume is. I know the volume is of the blue, of the red is 9 pi. So we have, and the radius is 1.5. So we have pi times 1.5 squared times the height. So 9 pi equals 1.5. What did we say? 2.25? Is that what it was? Whoa. 1.5 squared. Yeah, 2.25. 2.25 pi times h. Let's divide by 2.25 pi. Divide by 2.25 pi. So 9 divided by 2.25. Oh, that's nice. Gives us 4. So the height is 4 of the red. And of the blue, we're going to do the same thing. The volume equals pi r squared h. The volume of the blue is 13.5 pi. Pi, my radius again is 1.5 squared times h. 13.5 equals 2.25 pi h. Divide by 2.25 pi. That's pi in there. Divide by 2.25 pi. So 13.5 divided by 2.25 gives you 6, equals the height of the blue. So if it's going to be 16, so this must be 6 inches. How many cubic inches of white sand is in the container? Well, it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same as the blue, which is 13.5 pi cubic inches. Yep, I like that. That was kind of fun. They want you to multiply that out. 3.15, whoa. 13.5 times 3.14 gives us 42, yeah, 0.39. 42.39 inches cubed. Round your answers to the nearest tenth, so that's 42.4 inches cubed. Any more questions? No, that's good. Without calculating, determine which solid has the greater volume. Well, the cube does. The cube, because this is going to have 16, so this is 16 high. This is 16, or 18, excuse me. This is 18, and that can fit inside there, and so the cube's going to have more. Because the sphere can fit inside, because the sphere can fit inside the cube. Good question. That's it. You're done. No more. You got like 2 weeks before you come back to school, and you're going to be like, oh, I'm so stoked. I'm totally on top of my math work because I've stayed on top of my math work. Good luck. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.